Hey everybody, let's talk about where cities go in Civ 3. Get ready to get good. First, we'll discuss city placement in a vacuum, and then we'll say how enemy players will affect your decision. First thing is first, there's a lot of misinformation on this topic, including from me at some point, so let's get some things absolutely clear. Planting cities on top of bonus resources. If it is bonus food, that is bad. Full stop, the extra food will disappear. It's not like Civ 2 or Alpha Centauri. If you plant on bonus food, it's very bad, you'll lose all that food. If it is bonus commerce, that is fine. In fact, it is typically optimal to plant on top of bonus commerce. This surprises people, but yes, the only exception is your capital. Your capital gets 4 commerce minimum, so having your cap on bonus commerce doesn't matter too much. But for any other city, extra commerce on the tile where you plant your city directly translates into bonus commerce in the city center. If you see a gold hill or a silk-on jungle, these are good places to put your city, all other things being equal. If the tile gives bonus shields, it's complicated, but basically it is fine. You do get extra shields from planting on a high shield tile. The catch is that your city always has a minimum of 1 shield in the city center. So you won't notice an immediate difference between planting on, for example, plains, which is 1 shield, versus tundra, which is 0 shields. You will notice that if you plant on an iron hill or a plains fir, which each will give you 2 shields, that you immediately get an extra shield in the city center. But cities get +1 shield in the city center when they hit size 7. If you planted on a 1 shield tile, this brings you past the minimum, and at that point you would get an extra shield. So basically, planting on a 1 shield tile does nothing until you hit size 7. At that point, you will see the bonus. So actually, planting on bonus grasslands can be good. If you spawn on a bonus grassland and your capital only has 1 other BG, then yeah, you probably need that shield immediately. You should walk off of it. But if you spawn on a river with 4 other BGs and a cow, you do not need that BG immediately. You have others. So you can plant on top of it, and then when you hit size 7, you will see the extra shield in your city center. So planting on bonus food is bad, planting on bonus commerce is good, except your capital, and in the long run, planting on bonus shields is great. If there's one takeaway from my video, it is this: I do not want to see people getting this wrong anymore. Okay, next point on the list, the big fat cross. This is like the range of the city. Remember it. If a square is not in a city's big fat cross, then the citizens cannot harvest yields from that tile. On most maps, you want every tile in your empire to be in some city's big fat cross, especially good land. I don't want to see like a cow or a deer 5 tiles away from your capital that none of your cities are able to use. To this end, city distance. Having 1 to 4 tiles between cities are all valid, so that means 2 to 5 tiles apart. Here is a list of benefits of cities being further apart. And here's a list of benefits of cities being closer together. As you can see, this is a nuanced issue with a lot of benefits, pros and cons in either direction. Further apart is good, closer together is good. There is no reason to be putting your cities with 5 tiles in between. If you do it like that, you are guaranteeing waste. Unless this is like terrible land, like all mountains and volcanoes, put your cities maximum with 4 tiles in between, which means city center to city center, it would be 5 tiles apart. Planting on the coast is good. If you don't plant on the coast, you cannot build a harbor. Don't plant your city 1 tile away from the coast if you can help it. If you do, it will have coastal tiles within its range, but it can't build a harbor or other coastal installments, and so it can't get the maximum yields from those coastal tiles. I actually like to plant on like the tips of peninsula or like little pieces that jut out a little just to get more coastal tiles that you wouldn't otherwise be able to access, because these aren't the best tiles, but they will give you a lot of commerce in the late game. Planting on rivers or lakes is good. If you do that, then you don't need to build an aqueduct or pay maintenance on it. This is extremely important if you are an agricultural civ, because if you're an agricultural civ, until you switch out of despotism, you only get the +1 food, which is a disgusting bonus, if your city is on freshwater. So, if you are an agricultural civ, then prioritize those city spots on freshwater. Try to have a balance of food and shields. Cities with no food can't grow. Hill tiles are good, but they only give 1 food, and your citizens eat 2 food per turn, so you need to have higher food tiles to support the citizens that are working the hills. If you have land with a lot of hills, a lot of tundra, a lot of mountains, those are low food tiles, so try to straddle your cities so that they're also getting some higher food tiles in the big fat cross, so they get a nice balance between food and shields. So in isolation, that's pretty much it. But Civ 3 is not played alone, it is played versus rival factions, so let's talk about how they would impact your city placement decisions. One thing first though, I have an old Civ 3 tutorial series. Some of those videos are pretty low quality. This one here I had to remake because the information was bad in the original, but if you want me to make more tutorials, then a subscription to my channel would get the message across loud and clear. Okay, the first thing is that playing against the AI means you should plant your cities further apart, because this way you are staking out more land. In a vacuum, I'd likely plant with 2 tiles in between each city, so 3 tiles apart, but versus the AI, I would strongly recommend to plant 3 tiles between, so 4 tiles apart. This is a nice, safe middle ground that grabs a bunch of land, scales well, but isn't weak in the early game. Yes, there will be some overlap. There will be some tiles that are in one city's big fat cross that are also in another city's big fat cross. Deep into the game, it may stop you from using certain tiles that you would like to use in one of your cities, if another city is already using them. This is fine. In fact, it is optimal. If anyone tells you that it is bad to build cities that overlap, they have no clue what they're talking about, and you should ignore all of their opinions when they talk about Civ 3. Overlapping can potentially be very strong. Personally, I don't do it a ton, but there are significant advantages to it. Defense is important. If a city doesn't border the enemy, you don't really have to defend it. So, for that reason, you want short borders and less border gore, if possible. I often see save files where there's like a less exciting city spot that's maybe 5 tiles away from your capital or 8 tiles away, and that you just don't plant it, and the AI like walks the settler through your land and plants the city, and now you have this constant thorn in your side. Don't let them do that. Just try to stake out like a contiguous empire and take all the territory around your capital. Prioritize the good city spots, but don't ignore certain city spots, because if you ignore them, the AI is just going to take them and cause issues for you later on. Avoiding longer borders that you don't need to have is also true with islands, because with islands in a pinch, it's kind of difficult to move troops in and out of them. Just having a border with another civ makes it much more likely that they declare war on you. So for this reason, try to secure whole islands, even if it means less than ideal city spots. So for example, if there's like a small cluster of islands, don't just pick the best city spot from each island, try to get the whole of one island first, and then move on to securing city spots on other islands. Resources and luxuries are important. Not right at the start of the game, but once you start being close to border with the AI, then you should make a move to secure those luxuries. Feel free to plant cities very close to the AI in order to steal their resources. So if you plant like 2 tiles apart and then you build a temple or a library in the city, it will actually put the tile within your cultural boundaries, and then you can hook it for yourself. Placing a city on a hill will give that city a 50% defense bonus. Any other tile only gives 10%. So this isn't usually important, but if it's a city that's on a border with an enemy that you expect to fight, this can be quite helpful. It's like almost as good as having free walls in the city. So yeah, that's all there is to it. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I will see you guys next time. Cheers.